Welcome to the Retro21 Studios podcast. I'm your host, M Squared. Today's a special podcast. We're doing an on-site podcast at the Kiln, located at 1120 Southeast Madison Street in Portland, Oregon. And we're podcasting from their beautiful co-working facility. It's really a nice location. My first on-site podcast, I forgot my gear as I was heading out. I had microphones and all sorts of fun stuff for my guests, but I left it, so I had to improvise. I had my iPhone, so I figured the iPhone would work fairly well. I had a gimbal I would connect the two, see how that would work out. It was interesting. There were some issues with audio, and that's why I'm doing this promo, or at least the intro, without the video, but it'll pick up shortly. And I really enjoyed the interview with the two guests. Annie Baker and her business partner, Brooklyn Whittman, both experts in UI UX design, have a meetup group called City Techies, and that's how we all met. There was an event that had a few founders of AI companies, so it was cool, and I had a chance to meet the two of them. We had a good opportunity to sit down and chat at the Kiln. So again, appreciate you joining the Retro21 Studios podcast, and on to the show. Thank you.
Good. Thanks for having us. Going back a little bit, I was an art teacher and I studied art in undergrad, and then I learned about graphic design, and I wanted to go back and get my master's, and then I learned about interaction design, and then I just decided to go that direction in UX design and just completely fell in love with the process. And so I started doing freelance and contracting and like logo design and UX design research and web design, and then I ended up recently landing a role as a UX designer and focusing on conversion rate optimization and SEO. Yeah, and also Annie and I run a meetup together.
Yes.
So.
City Techies.
Yeah.
For me, my journey started in restaurants. I've been in restaurants for a long time, and I knew I wanted to transition into design. I didn't really know where I fit in. I thought I was going to go into industrial design growing up. I always was told I would be really good at engineering, and I didn't care for the math. I was like, no, I like the design part. I don't like the math part. Down the road, I was like, maybe I need to go into graphic design. Thinking back on it, I discovered UX design through an Instagram ad. And I think it was like, girl, you've been looking at all this stuff. Like, this is the career you're looking for. And so I was like, wow, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So I went to school for that and just recently landed a job as a marketing manager for 2 restaurant brand concepts across 13 locations. I'm building out their websites and managing their brand identity and marketing campaigns and things like that, social media.
Awesome. Well, congratulations on the new jobs.
Yeah.
So the two of you have tossed out a few acronyms. The main one is UI, UX. For those who are unfamiliar with those acronyms.
Yeah, UI, user interface, like how things look when you're interacting with an app or website. You get to say
UX. Oh, UX just feels like the complicated one.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, no, you should do. So it's user experience. So I always think of UI as, how something looks, and UX is more how something feels, or the study of, it's the whole rabbit hole you could go down with UX. But
And this is specific to a application.
not necessarily.
No.
It could be in regard to a product design. It could be, website. It could be a whole realm of things, really. That's why it's, when I got my education in UX, explaining it to people, it was hard. I was like, where do I even go from here? It's hard to find your niche, like where you fit in. So
It is really hard explaining it because you don't want to minimize your expertise, but you also don't want to bore someone. When I met my partner's family at Christmas a couple years ago, one of the cousins, he's a graphic designer, and his mom was like, oh, what's a UX designer? And he was like, oh, like they decided where the buttons go. And I was like, I didn't correct you, but oh my gosh, I do so much more than that.
especially the research end of it.
Yeah, a lot of research, yeah.
That's interesting. So do you choose, you just started a new job. So do you choose where you want to go, right? And other,
In regard to research and everything,
like in medicine, right, there's different genres or specialty areas. It sounds like there's a broad span here as well. So.
Definitely. I think it's always being in tune and aware and sensitive. As a user experience designer, you are empathizing with people. If you're very in touch with that empathy, you can start to hear where your direction needs to go. If you could be like, hey, this sounds like a pain point here, then you can focus your attention down those roads, just listening and being empathetic and realizing what problems need to be solved.
Yeah. That's interesting, because I looked at what you just described as two completely separate entities from the software development world and UI UX. It's like we're working on an app, right? So it is some of the buttons, it's some of that usability piece, like what's going to keep that user using the application and staying excited about it.
Do you want to explain?
Oh, there's so many things. What is unique about UX in the world of tech is like there's rules, like accessibility is going to keep getting better, but there's nothing that you can change about the needs of people who require products to be more accessible, and they always benefit all people. And then also things like information hierarchy, there's best practices to design things, and then there's fun things where we can do research on user needs and things that are more flexible. So we work with a lot of rules, but then we have a lot of creativity at the same time. I think that's what I like about it.
So I have an interesting story with AI. I went to school, and halfway, it was a 6-month program I attended, and 3 months in, ChatGPT came out. It was such a night and day difference, and genuinely felt like cheating. All of us were like, are we able to use this? And our professors were like, other designers have access to it. People are so fearful with AI. You have to incorporate it, and like other people are using it, so you need to get with it as opposed to fear it. You need to just learn about it. I was talking to Rick at the last event. We were talking about how AI safety is like gun safety. Guns can be really dangerous, but if you know how to use them in safety, then they aren't so dangerous. It is very similar, that it's just you need to know the rules and ethics and know how to use it appropriately.
And Rick, for people who don't know, he was a host on we had a panelist about AI and people who have startups a few weeks ago.
That was one I attended, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a cool event. So you have 3 companies. If I recall correctly, one of the founders, I think, was
an AI travel, or like an AI fashion.
AI fashion. The other did not avatars, but
it's MeBot AI.
Yeah. I can recreate people, allow them to talk to you, but I think it's mostly focused on deceased people, your grandparents, loved ones, or also celebrities who like are living or passed away, who like you would never interact with.
You can memorialize them. Because I remember him saying that he captured the voice of his grandmother and some other characteristics, which is interesting.
Cool, but creepy.
So your group is City Techies.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah.
That's how we met. Amy and I met through Meetup, both attending for the first time. I didn't think Meetup was cool. I thought it was for people who didn't know how to meet people, and I couldn't have been more wrong. I think I had a lot of judgment for no reason, and then I ended up meeting Amy, who's become one of my closest friends, and now we run this community together of over 600 people. We started 7 months ago. It's grown really quick.
Our first event was in May, and so it's skyrocketed. It feels like really quickly.
Yeah.
What do you attribute that to?
Our passion.
Yeah. I think it's a whole fuel of things. I think our passion definitely fueled it, but I think it was answering to a need. The reason we started it was because we were like, this community doesn't exist in Portland.
The Portland tech community is like, there's a lot of people, but I don't know, it's not Seattle, it's not San Francisco, but we are like a high-tech city. We don't have as much money as they do. We have a lot of smart people. And also the job market is very tough right now. It's very hard to get a job. So I think people are trying to network. I don't know what percentage of people have jobs, but I feel like a good amount of people have jobs also. So it is nice that it's not just unemployed people looking for jobs, which I totally support, people getting out and networking, but it's great that people can also introduce people to maybe getting a job.
As user experience designers, we're empathetic. We're answering to whatever need we feel is out there. We try to listen to our attendees and what they wish. And that's why we created the community too. It's, man, I wish someone was doing an event on this. And now we're in a position where we're like, wow, we can do that now. So we're just listening to people and listening to what buzz things are going on and what people want to talk about, and just facilitating a space for people to be able to talk about that or learn about it, whatever.
It's been really diverse. Like the events that we've had, we did one online event with a developer recently where he did the front-end coding demonstration. And then I just did a presentation last week. I'm teaching an online class starting next week. It's a mini promo course about storytelling with data and design, how to use user research and primary and secondary research, how to visualize it, how to talk about it. You did a book swap. That was super
book exchange.
fun.
Yeah, that was really fun. Yeah. And we like to structure events to where there's some kind of goal in mind, but at the same time, we try to balance it to where there's still some room for people to go into it with what they want to accomplish. If they want to network, if they want to do whatever, there's some room to be like, all right, we have this little pinpoint we want to touch on, but then from here, what do you guys want to get out of this? What are your frustrations right now in your job?
Yeah, it ranges a lot too. We've had as little as 5 people show up to events and as many as 70 in person. And I use AI to calculate our return rate of attendees. We have about 650 right now, and it's constantly growing. We have a 28% return rate of people who have been to 2 or more events. So I'm like, that's pretty good.
We haven't done that many events either. Yeah.
So where do you see the group going in the future?
I definitely understand this group never started because we wanted money from anyone. Never intended for that to happen. But we are at a point where we put so many hours into creating these events, contacting speakers, finding venues, and then talking. I never realized building a community, you build this community, and then you talk to all these people. It is a lot. It gets to a point where, oh gosh, I need to pay my bills too. And it's taking up the time that I would be working. So it's getting to that weird point where we're looking more into sponsorship. At this point, we need to become an LLC in order to get that sponsorship.
I think our goal is always for it to be free for our members. It's almost like we want to function like a nonprofit, but it is a lot easier to set up an LLC than a nonprofit. We have friends who have LLCs and nonprofits, and it's not like they have the same mission, but it's just a different label.
So what's the next event? I mentioned the art that's coming up.
Is that right?
I was just talking about it.
It's not just art.
No, it's AI. Yeah. That event was Brooklyn's idea to do the AI art aspect. It's actually funny because it is controversial.
We had our own little debate. We're like, should we do real art?
It's literally apples and oranges. One person did comment on our group. They are an artist and they wanted to bring their own art that is representative of the fear they feel with AI. And so we had a conversation about it, and we're like, we don't want to turn anyone away. We do want all the submissions and everything, but it is to some degree apples and oranges. Like, we can't judge this artwork that you spent hours and hours on and using certain tools and then judge it against an AI generated instant image. It just doesn't feel right.
It's like a PNG.
This event in general is supposed to spur that sort of topic, or designers are fearful of AI taking jobs. So that's what we were like: Halloween, fear, AI, embrace the fear, and then just talk about it, put it all on the table.
We're more techy than we are. Like, we have a couple graphic designers and animators, and I think UX is creative, but we're definitely not graphic people.
So where's that fine line? There's the AI specifically, and there's stuff done. So I had this inner challenge of them. So I take these drone images, and then I enhance them. Some sort of disclaimer that, hey, this is AI enhanced, depending on what tool I was using. So that, based on what you're saying, would not qualify as AI art. If you went to Dali, right, and spun up something and said, give me a graphic.
It's enhanced. That's VR versus that's kind of what I would.
Yeah, we do ask people to provide what tools they used. And so that way, too, it's an educational sort of thing where it's like, oh, wow, people talking about how they're creating these images. So it's both.
We're going to print them out like a little gallery style, and then we're going to have QR codes that people can scan and vote. And below each piece of art, we'll have the medium that they use. I think it's going to be fun. Hopefully we have enough people participating.
What do you think about attribution? So say there's an article, and we talk about the art piece, and proper attribution by AI, or this article was written by AI. Do you think that's appropriate to use attribution, or just put it out there and sign your name on it?
It's a controversial thing. I see both sides of it. You are creating it in some way. If you're using this tool and you're prompting it for your writing. But it reminds me, someone just told me about how they trained this like AI with poetry. Like, they put certain poets in and told the AI to create poetry based on everything they learned about that poet. It didn't sound the same. People can detect when something's AI versus human still. There's still like hue where they're like, oh, this doesn't sound fair. But yeah, I don't know.
So we'll get to a place where it will not be so easy to detect.
Yeah.
That is probably a question that we'll need to keep asking ourselves. When everyone was protesting in Hollywood saying you can't be using AI to write entire movie scripts in 10 seconds, it makes sense. But when it comes to writing something like a quick email, it depends on the level of impact, how it's going to work.
Right.
Or like originality, that's what gets me.
Do you have a problem with a script being generated by AI?
They're usually trained off people's writing. That's the problem, because I don't know what else they're going to train you off.
What I care about is the product that's being built. If it's a good product, if AI helped in that, then it is what it is. It's unavoidable. So
You touched on that a little bit earlier, and I think I'm sure if it was a court case that came down, but I think maybe it's plagiarism. This took in the corpus of the internet. Yes, some of your works are in there, but this end product isn't completely your work. It's an amalgam.
yeah.
And, so it raises some interesting questions.
It is really tough, like ethics, because if it's being trained off of other people's information, then it is like stealing without them being given any kind of compensation for it. I think that is the problem right now. That is what the main thing that people are like fighting. I like to use Gen AI for writing, and there's so many different forms of creating. And I also came from an art background. I like to play devil's advocate from that perspective too. But then you're right.
Using other people's work in arts, that whole question. Isn't that still true with music today? Right? You're sampling music and, right? What song do you hear, especially hip hop or whatever, that isn't an amalgam of other
For sure.
folks'
Yeah.
work?
Yeah.
And I think there has been situations where there's been issues with respect to attribution. So,
And that's where we're going to have to go down with legality. I think AI is moving at a rate faster than we can keep up with regulating it. We need to have those regulations in place where it's like, all right, this is, but it's such gray area that it's hard to define where the line is, but it's like there needs to be lines and there needs to be regulations to some degree. Yeah.
I just remember during the Zuckerberg like trials on Facebook and all the data was being sold, and they're like, how does Facebook make money? Like, they didn't even know that they use advertisement as the main source of money.
Right.
It's like that kind of stuff where you're like, they don't even understand the basic mechanics. How are they gonna know?
Yeah. We'd have someone in there that knows the impacts of what's going on. That brings me to shout out to AI Portland. It's Senator speaking, and he has the focus. Have you seen that?
I have not.
He's doing like a big AI focus and talking about that. To some degree, sometimes I trust a robot more than a human. Humans are looking at their phone, they're drunk or whatever. I'm like, take the car. Yeah. The robot is designed to like, don't hit anything else. This is what I do. So to some degree, I'm like, yeah, robot's in charge. He is programmed to do one job, and that's drive this car safely. Don't hit other cars.
It's like the people who are making a lot of the big decisions driving AI, it's not really up to the blue collar workers that are going to be impacted. I think that's what's hard too about it. It's not everyone that just gets to feel empowered to have a choice.
Are there certain aspects of your current job that you wish AI would, take over?
Prototyping. But it is coming. Like Figma AI was released, but then it was too similar to the Apple weather app, or their UI was too similar. So they had to pull it, and then they're going to release it again. So you can generate whole prototypes, high fidelity and low fidelity, pretty soon. There are apps you can use. I'm excited about that.
Guys doing incredible work with stuff I don't want to do. Like when I do user interviews and I'm collecting mass amounts of data, and I literally witnessed before when I had to go through all that, take notes, get the highlights and go through all these interviews, and then to after where AI just went through in 2 seconds and was able to summarize all these interviews. I experienced the interviews firsthand. It saved me hours of work. I was grateful for it. I could see that our apps and our products were better because we were able to designate that time to refining and polishing and making the app really shine. We weren't wasting all this time looking over data. So AI took over. It's like, yep, I got this. Yes.
So many words.
It takes out all the fluff and everything. Yeah, you're just straight to the point. So
Awesome. What's your favorite tool?
My favorite tool, probably for AI, is either ChatGPT or Cloud AI. Cloud AI, I always say Cloud AI, because Claude AI, we both said, is more like human-like in how its responses. Yeah, it's not as exaggerated. Yeah.
ChatGPT. I hope you have the best day of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. You sound so robot right now. Yeah.
No Gemini.
I use Gemini, but I think Claude AI is what I use for writing, and then ChatGPT for getting information and doing simple analysis. I use a lot of stock images, or I do my own graphic designs for web designs. But I have played around with Adobe Firefly, and I just don't love the results, to be honest. I feel like they always look a little too cartoony. I'll try a bunch of different prompts, or that it'll be like really beautiful, but then something will just be off, and then I'll try to correct what I'm writing. What I do like to do is I have Adobe Express, which is their new editing app, almost like a Canva, but better. And you can use Gen AI to create text. And so you can make like fuzzy letters, or you can make like balloon mylar looking letters. So that's more fun, I think, because it feels a bit more graphic and less like I'm creating a graphic design through Firefly or an image. Yeah.
That's like the generative AI, like for images, is not, I feel like people still want, the point of our jobs is to strike emotion and everything, and I feel like that is more apt for a real image, not a generative. Like, I feel like people can sense that it's a fake image and it's almost insincere. I haven't seen too many good AI images that I would use.
Oh, most of those. You could tell they're synthetic.
Yeah, and it feels like you're trying to fake people out or something. They know that's not real. I don't know. There's something off, and you can't even always put your finger on what it is. But
their skin looks too soft, or their eyes are too glassy. They got the hands figured out, but they're still weird. My partner is a civil engineer, and they submit proposals to clients, and then they get the jobs. And he was using ChatGPT when it was newer, and he was just wanting a little image for the client for a lake. They were designing around it, and he typed in like lake with ducks, and it was just like thousands of ducks. And it was like the ducks are getting like smaller and smaller. And just like
too many. Yeah, it reminds me of, I used to be really into pottery, and what I loved about pottery is when things looked human made, when there's like little fingerprints in it, or you can just tell a human made it. AI images or like the machine made dishes where it's like they're all just, it's factory, it looks weird. Whereas, it's like a human with a photo, people know that's real to this. Yeah. At this point, who knows what it will. Yeah.
It's IKEA, but then it's like the as is section.
Yes.
This has been exciting. I really appreciate the conversation. Any questions for me?
Why are you having us back again?
Yeah.
I've been participating in one of the meetups. Actually, thinking about when I first went on, looking for different groups, it was to see if there was something related to my idea. If it wasn't there, I got to put this group together. I like working on some proof of concepts, right, with language models. And so that's something that I was looking at. And then I came across your group, and you had 3 entrepreneurs in the AI space. So that was cool. And I was really surprised to meet so many folks.
Have you stayed in contact with any of
them? Take the lead on a little workshop and
on me. I had a couple of podcasts to get out, and there's the founders, I had their cards. I wanted to get back in touch. So that was my plan for next week, to start reaching out. Hey, remember me from that event?
It was like 2 weeks ago. You've just been so busy. Yeah. Feels like months. Yeah.
This is cool. How do folks find out more about the group?
Oh yeah, we're on Meetup right now. We wish we had a web page. We wish we had the time to build one.
Maybe
we're working on it, but for right now we're on Meetup. We're City Techies. Come to an event. It's a good time. Great people. I just love being surrounded by everyone that shows up to those events. They're just inspiring and energize me.
I feel really lucky to be helping run this community with so many great people. And also, if you're not in Portland, we do online events too. So keep that in mind. Yeah. And we're on LinkedIn too, Brooklyn Whittman and Annie Baker, if you want to reach out and talk.
One of the things I'd love to do is pick winners from the AI. That's right. Yeah. Love to feature some of that work.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Cool. Thanks for joining the Retro21 Studios. Take care.
Thank you.